The night was still. Not the kind of still that feels peaceful. The kind that presses against your chest. The kind that makes a house feel like it is holding its breath. Nathan sat in the old wooden chair on the back porch, the same chair he had sat in for 31 years. The same chair where he used to drink his morning coffee while Margaret stood at the kitchen window, watching him, smiling at nothing in particular, just smiling because he was there, and she was there. And that was enough. She had been gone for 3 years now. The coffee in his mug had gone cold. He did not notice. He was looking up. The sky above the Midwest was the kind of sky city people never see. Wide, deep, endless in a way that makes you feel very small, and somehow also held at the same time. Thousands of stars scattered across the black, like someone had taken a handful of salt and thrown it against dark fabric. Nathan used to love this sky. Tonight, it just made him feel the distance. He was 62 years old. He had worked 30 years at the same plant before it closed. He had raised one son. He had loved one woman completely, and without reservation for 38 years. He had served in the same church for most of his adult life, stacking chairs, fixing leaky pipes, driving elderly members to their appointments, showing up early and leaving late without ever being asked. He was the kind of man people called reliable. He was the kind of man who answered the phone. He was the kind of man who showed up, and tonight, not one person had called to check on him. Not because they did not care. People do care. They just assume men like Nathan are fine. Men like Nathan have always been fine. Men like Nathan do not need to be asked. He set the cold mug down on the railing, and for the first time in 3 years, he spoke out loud into the dark, Lord. Just that one word, cracked at the edges. Not a prayer exactly. More like someone knocking on a door they are no longer sure is still there. Are you still there? He waited. Because I cannot feel you anymore. And I do not know if that means you moved, or I did, or if I just stopped being someone you listened to. The words came out smaller than he expected. He had not planned to say them. They had just been sitting inside his chest for so long that they finally slipped out in the dark when no one was watching. The trees at the edge of the yard did not move. The crickets kept their rhythm. And then the wind came. Not a breeze. Not a gradual shift in the air. One deliberate gust, strong enough to lift the napkin off the railing and send it tumbling into the yard. Strong enough to move through his hair and press against his face, like a hand. One gust. And then, nothing. Complete stillness again. Nathan looked around. His neighbor's wind chimes had not moved. The leaves on the oak tree at the corner of the fence had not stirred. Only the air directly around him had shifted. He sat very still. The hair on his arms was standing up. He did not know what to call what he was feeling. He was a practical man. A man who believed in what he could see and measure and hold. But he was also a man who had spent a lifetime in faith. And somewhere in the place where those two things met, he knew that was not the weather. He picked up his mug, looked at it, set it back down, and the voice came. Not from the trees, not from the sky, from somewhere closer than that, from the place inside a person where truth lives before words are attached to it. I never left. Nathan closed his eyes. I have been answering you every single day, Nathan. Every single day for 3 years. You just stopped looking for my answers because they stopped coming the way you expected. He pressed his hands flat against his knees. Think back. And he did. Because when that voice speaks, you do not argue. You just go. He thought about the Tuesday morning 14 months ago when he had not eaten in 2 days. Not because he had no food, because he had no reason to get up and make any. And then Ruth from 3 houses down had appeared at his door with a pot of soup and a pan of cornbread, and she had said she just felt like cooking too much and thought of him. She had stayed for an hour and talked about her garden. And he had eaten 2 bowls and felt something loosen in his chest. He had called it neighborly. He thought about the Sunday evening 8 months ago when he had been sitting in this same chair, and the grief had come up so fast and so hard that he could not breathe around it, and his phone had rung. Derek, his son, calling for no reason he could name, saying he just wanted to hear his dad's voice. They had talked for 40 minutes about nothing important: baseball, a movie Derek had seen, a restaurant that had opened near his apartment in Chicago. He had called it coincidence. He thought about the morning of Margaret's first anniversary. He had gotten in his truck to go to the cemetery. He had turned on the radio because the silence was unbearable, and the first sound that had come through the speakers was the opening notes of How Great Thou Art, Margaret's song, the one she had requested at every Easter service for 20 years. The one she had hummed while washing dishes. The one she had whispered near the end when words became difficult. He had pulled over on the side of the road and sat there for 10 minutes unable to drive. He had called it a coincidence too, sitting on the porch now, with the stillness pressing around him and that one deliberate gust still tingling on his skin. Nathan understood something he had been refusing to understand for 3 years. He had not lost his faith. He had lost his ability to recognize the language. He had been waiting for God to speak in the way God had spoken to him when he was young. Loud, obvious, unmistakable, the kind of moments that make you certain. But grief changes the frequency you hear on. And Nathan had spent 3 years standing in a room where someone was speaking to him constantly, listening for a voice that sounded like it used to sound, and hearing nothing. "I have been here," the voice said again, "in every moment you looked away from, in every kindness you called neighborly, in every phone that rang at exactly the right time. You were not being overlooked, Nathan. You were being tended. You just had a different name for it." Nathan's throat tightened. "I do not always move mountains, Nathan. Sometimes I move people. To your door, to their phones, to a radio station at the right moment. That is not a smaller miracle. That is just a different one." He looked up at the sky, and then he saw it. One star burning brighter than everything around it. Not bigger, not a different color, just brighter. The way a candle looks when you walk into a dark room, steady and sure while everything else recedes. Nathan knew enough about the sky to know that in this season, in this part of the sky, there was no star that should be that bright tonight. He stared at it. "I put that light there tonight for you," the voice said. "Not for the astronomers, not for the charts, for you. Because you needed something you could see with your eyes. Because you needed to know that I see you, that I have always seen you, that there has not been one night in 3 years where you sat in this chair, and I was not right here with you." Something broke open in Nathan's chest. Not painfully, the way a window breaks open on the first warm day of spring. Something that had been sealed for too long suddenly letting air through. His eyes filled. He did not try to stop it. He was 62 years old and he was sitting on his back porch crying at a star, and he did not care one bit. Because the thing about being seen, truly seen, after a long period of feeling invisible, is that it undoes you in the best possible way. It reaches into the place where you have been holding everything together by sheer force of habit, and it gently, firmly, says you can put that down now. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. He looked at the star for a long time. And then his phone buzzed on the small table beside him. He almost did not look at it. He assumed it was nothing. A news alert, a reminder, the kind of notifications that fill the silence without meaning anything. But he looked. Unknown number. A text message. He picked up the phone and read it. Nathan, I know this is going to sound strange. I am so sorry if I am bothering you. But I was in prayer group tonight at church, and your name came into my mind so clearly that I said it out loud without meaning to. 3 other people said they felt it too. We prayed for you for almost an hour. I just felt like I was supposed to reach out. This is Cecilia, from First Methodist. I do not think we have spoken much, but God kept putting your name in my heart, and I did not know what else to do. Are you okay? Nathan read it once. Then he read it again. He looked at the time the message was sent, 11:14 p.m. He looked at the time he had spoken out loud into the dark. He had checked his watch when he did it because it was a strange thing to do and he had wanted to remember it. 11:14 p.m., the exact same minute he had asked God if he was still listening. 4 people in a church he had not attended in 3 years had stopped what they were doing and prayed his name. Nathan set the phone down on the table very carefully, like it was something fragile, like it was something holy. He looked back up at the star. It was still there, steady, bright. Sure, and for the first time in 3 years, Nathan did not feel like a man who had been forgotten. He felt like a man who had just been found. He sat with the phone in his hand for a long time. The star was still there. The night was still around him. But something inside the stillness had shifted, like a room where someone has just lit a single candle. Nothing about the room has changed, but nothing looks the same either. Cecilia, he knew the name. He could place the face. A woman in her late 50s, silver hair she wore pulled back, always sat near the left side of the sanctuary 3 rows from the front. She had a quiet way about her, the kind of person who did not take up much space in a room, but somehow you always knew she was there. They had exchanged maybe 40 words in the years. They had both attended First Methodist. She had no reason to text him, no reason except the one she had given. He called her back. She picked up on the second ring, as if she had been holding the phone, waiting. Not entirely sure what she had done, but certain she had been supposed to do it. Nathan, her voice was soft, slightly breathless. Like someone who has just done something that took courage. Cecilia. He paused. Tell me what happened tonight. She told him everything. The prayer group met every Thursday at 7:12, people around a circle of folding chairs in the fellowship hall. They had been praying for a family dealing with illness, and then for a young couple in the congregation going through something difficult. And then Pastor Williams had asked if anyone else had a name on their heart. Cecilia said she had not planned to speak. She said the name came up in her the way a word comes up when you are trying to remember something you already know. Not a thought exactly, more like a recognition, like her heart identified something before her mind caught up. She had said Nathan's name out loud, and before she could explain or apologize for the randomness of it, the woman sitting directly across from her had said quietly, "Yes, I was thinking the same thing." And then a man near the door had nodded slowly and said, "I do not know why, but I have had him on my mind all week." And then a fourth person had said nothing, just reached forward and added his name to the prayer list without being asked. They had prayed for him for nearly an hour. Not a quick prayer, not a mention at the end, a full hour of people calling his name before God, asking for comfort, asking for presence, asking that wherever Nathan was tonight, he would know he was not alone. Nathan listened to all of this without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "Cecilia, What time did your group start praying my name specifically? She thought for a moment. We had just finished the second prayer. So probably around 11:15, maybe 11:10. Why? He looked at the time on his phone screen. He looked at the time he had saved in his memory. Because at 11:14 he said slowly, I was sitting on my back porch asking God out loud if he was still listening. The silence on the line was not an empty silence. It was the silence of two people standing in front of something too large to immediately put into words. Cecilia spoke first. Her voice had changed, gone quieter. The way voices go when something moves from interesting to sacred. Nathan, she said, I need to tell you something else. Something I did not put in the text because I was not sure how to say it. He waited. I had a dream last week, she said. I do not usually talk about dreams. I am not that kind of person. But this one was different. She described it carefully. The way people describe things they are trying to get exactly right. In the dream, she had seen a man sitting alone outside at night. She could not see his face clearly, but she could see the sky above him, and she could see that he was looking up, and she could feel, the way you feel things in dreams without needing them explained, that he had been sitting there a very long time, that he had been carrying something very heavy for a very long time, that he had gotten so used to carrying it that he had forgotten what it felt like to set it down. And in the dream, a voice had spoken, clear, distinct, not frightening. The kind of voice that sounds like something you have always known but never heard out loud before. The voice had said, go find him. Tell him I remember the prayer he prayed 20 years ago. Tell him I have not forgotten. Cecilia had woken up and lain in the dark for a while and thought about it. She had not known whose face belonged to the figure in the dream. She had prayed about it and let it sit. And then, tonight in the prayer group, when his name had come up so clearly and so suddenly, she had felt the two things connect, like two ends of a sentence finally finding each other. Tell him I remember the prayer he prayed 20 years ago. Nathan had not spoken. He was standing now without realizing he had stood up. He was gripping the porch railing with his free hand and looking out at the dark yard, and his heart was doing something he did not have a word for. Because 20 years ago he had prayed a prayer he had never told anyone. Not Margaret, not Derek, not the pastor, not a single person on this earth. It had been a Tuesday night in February. He remembered the exact night because it had been the night of his father's funeral. He had gone back to the church after everyone else had gone home. He had sat in the front pew in the dark, and he had prayed. He had not prayed for comfort. He had not prayed for strength. He had prayed one specific prayer. He had said, Lord, let my life mean something, not for me. I do not need recognition. I do not need to be known. Just let something I do matter to someone who needed it. Let me be useful to you. Whatever that looks like, however small. Just let it mean something. No one had heard that prayer. No one had been in the building. He had never written it down. He had never spoken it aloud to another person. And a woman he barely knew was on the phone telling him that God had sent her a dream and told her to find him and tell him that he remembered. Nathan sat back down in the chair. His legs had made the decision for him. Cecilia, he said, and his voice had a quality he did not recognize in himself. Something stripped down, something honest in a way that talking usually is not. Nobody knows about that prayer. Nobody. I know, she said gently. I know. They stayed on the phone a little while longer, not talking about much. The way people stay in a room together after something significant has happened because leaving feels wrong, because the air in that particular space feels like it should be honored. When they said goodnight, she told him she would keep praying. He thanked her. He meant it more than he had meant a thank you in recent memory. He set the phone down and looked at the star again. It was still there. He thought about what she had said. He thought about the prayer he had prayed at 27 years old in an empty church on the night of his father's funeral. He thought about everything that had come after that night. 30 years of showing up. 30 years of being the man people called. He thought about the Tuesday in November 11 years ago when he had been driving home from the hardware store and had pulled into the parking lot of a diner to check his phone. And he had noticed a car parked in the back corner of the lot with the engine running and a woman sitting very still inside it. Something about the stillness had made him uncomfortable. The particular stillness of a person who has stopped deciding. He had parked and walked over and knocked on the window. She had looked at him with the eyes of someone coming back from a very far distance. He had not known what to say. He was not a counselor. He was not trained in any of it. He had just said, "I do not know you, and I am sorry if I am wrong, but I just wanted to check. Are you okay?" She was not okay. He had stood in that parking lot and talked with her for 2 hours in the cold. He had not fixed anything. He had not said anything particularly wise. He had just been there. He had just refused to leave, and at the end of those 2 hours, she had agreed to call her sister. And she had. He had never seen her again. He had thought about her occasionally over the years, and wondered how she was. He had never known her name. He had counted that afternoon as nothing more than something that needed to be done, and that he happened to be there to do. He had never once considered that it might be an answer to a prayer. But sitting on the porch now with the star burning above him, and the warmth of that phone call still in his chest, something was reorganizing inside him. The way a room looks different when you change where the light is coming from. Everything the same. Everything different. Because what if it was not coincidence that he had pulled into that lot? What if it was not coincidence that he had looked up at that particular moment and seen that particular car? What if a 27-year-old man had prayed in the dark of an empty church asking to be useful and God had spent the next 3 decades answering that prayer in parking lots and soup deliveries and phone calls made for no reason, and early mornings and late nights and 38 years of loving one woman well and raising one son as best he knew how? What if the answer to the prayer had not been a single moment? What if the answer had been an entire life? The thought was so large, he could not look directly at it. He pressed his hand flat against his chest the way you do when something is happening in there that needs steadying. He thought about Derek. His son was 34 years old. He lived in Chicago. He called every Sunday. He was a good man with a quiet life and a job he did not love but was good at. He had not come home for Christmas last year. He had said he had plans. Nathan had said he understood. He had understood, but he had also sat alone at the kitchen table on Christmas morning with 2 cups of coffee and drunk both of them by himself, and not told anyone that he had made 2 cups out of habit and then sat there looking at the second one getting cold. He had not told Derek that. He had not told anyone that. He had been so committed to being the man who did not need things that he had become unreachable. He had built a version of himself that was so reliable and so steady and so fine that the people who loved him had no door to knock on, no opening, no place to enter and sit down and say, "Dad, how are you really?" Because he never gave them a crack in the wall, because men like Nathan do not leave cracks. And now, he was sitting on a porch, in the dark, wondering if the strength he had always been so proud of had quietly become a prison. He picked up the phone again. He opened Derek's name in his contacts. He looked at it for a long time. It was late. Almost midnight. His son had work in the morning. He put the phone down. Then he picked it up again. Because the voice that had spoken to him tonight was still in his chest, and it was saying something he needed to hear. You prayed to be useful, Nathan, but you forgot that being available to receive love is also a form of usefulness. Derek needs to be able to reach you. Not the version of you that has everything handled you. Let him in. Nathan dialed. It rang 3 times. Dad. Derek's voice was alert in the way that voices get when a parent calls late. That immediate catch of worry. Is everything okay? And Nathan opened his mouth to say yes. Everything is fine. Sorry to call so late. Just wanted to hear your voice. But what came out instead was something else. Something true. I am okay, he said. I am okay, but I have been missing your mother tonight. And I realized I never tell you that. I just wanted you to know I think about her. And I think about you. And I am not always as fine as I probably seem. The silence on Derek's end lasted long enough that Nathan wondered if he had said the wrong thing. And then his son said, in a voice that was doing its level best to stay steady and not quite managing it, Dad, I think about her every single day. And I think about you every single day. I just did not know how to say it without making it worse. You would not make it worse, Nathan said. I did not know that, Derek said quietly. You always seem like you are handling it. I am not always handling it. Another silence. Softer this time. The kind that comes after something honest has been said. And both people are adjusting to the new amount of space that honesty creates between them. I know it is late, Derek said. But can we just stay on for a while? I do not really want to hang up right now. I do not either, Nathan said. They talked for over an hour. Not about anything that would sound important, written down old memories. A trip they had taken when Derek was 9. A joke Margaret used to make about Nathan's cooking. The way she had always burned the edges of her cornbread. And somehow, it was always the best part. They laughed. Nathan could not remember the last time he had laughed at this hour. When they finally said goodnight, Derek said, Dad, I am glad you called. Me too, son, Nathan said. Me too. He sat for a while after they hung up. The star was still in the sky. The night was still around him, but the quality of the stillness had changed entirely. It was no longer the stillness that presses against your chest. It was the other kind, the kind that holds you, the kind that feels like the whole world is quietly exhaling. Nathan looked up at the star and felt something he had not felt in 3 years. He felt like himself again, not the managed version, not the reliable version, not the version that has everything handled and never leaves a crack in the wall. The real one, the one who prayed in the dark of an empty church at 27 and meant every word, the one God had apparently been listening to ever since. He said one more thing out loud before he went inside. Not a question this time, just 3 words. Thank you, Lord. Then he picked up his cold coffee mug and went inside and washed it in the sink and turned off the kitchen light. He did not look back at the star. He did not need to, but as he lay down in the dark a few minutes later, something Cecilia had said in the dream came back to him quietly. Someone is coming. He did not know what that meant yet. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in 3 years, he was not afraid to find out. He slept that night, really slept. Not the shallow, restless kind he had grown accustomed to, not the kind where you are never fully under and never fully out, and you wake up more tired than when you closed your eyes. He slept the deep, total sleep of a man whose body had finally been given permission to rest, like something that had been clenched for a very long time, had finally, slowly, let go. He did not dream, or if he did, He did not remember the dreams. And for the first time in 3 years, the not remembering felt like grace instead of loss. He woke at 6:47. The bedroom was gray and quiet. The curtains his wife had chosen, pale yellow with small white flowers, let in the early light the way she had always wanted them to. She had hung them the spring before she got sick. She had stood on the step stool and he had stood below with his hands out in case she wobbled, and she had said, "Nathan, I am not going to fall." And he had said, "I know. I just want to be here anyway." He lay still for a moment looking at those curtains. Then he got up. He made coffee. Real coffee, not the single cup pod he had defaulted to for the past year, but a full pot, the way Margaret had always made it. Strong enough to stand a spoon in, she used to say. He stood at the counter while it brewed and watched the light change in the backyard and thought about the night before. In the daylight, it would have been easy to talk himself out of it. The wind, one gust. Probably just the weather shifting. The star. Likely something his grief had made significant. Cecilia's call. A kind woman acting on an impulse. Nothing more. He could have rebuilt every wall by 9 in the morning if he had wanted to. But he did not want to, because he had stood inside the dismantled walls last night and felt what was on the other side. And what was on the other side was not frightening. What was on the other side was familiar in the way that home is familiar, in the way that something you have always known feels when you come back to it after being away too long. He poured his coffee. He sat at the kitchen table. He thought about the prayer. 20 years ago, in an empty church, "Let my life mean something. Let me be useful to you, however small. Just let it mean something." He had prayed that prayer, and then he had lived his life. He had not tracked the answer. He had not kept a ledger. He had just gotten up every day and done what needed doing, and been where he was needed and not thought much about whether it added up to anything. But God had been keeping count. That thought arrived quietly and stayed. God had been keeping count. Every soup delivery and every late-night phone call and every hour in a cold parking lot with a stranger and every chair stacked and every pipe fixed and every elderly member driven to their appointment and every Sunday morning and every Tuesday night and every ordinary day that did not feel like it meant anything but did. Every single one of it had been the answer to a prayer. A young man had prayed in the dark. Nathan sat with that for a long time. He was on his second cup of coffee when his phone buzzed. Cecilia again. A text this time short. "Good morning, Nathan. I woke up early and felt like I should tell you one more thing. I almost did not include this last night because I was not sure. But the voice in the dream said something else after it said to find you. It said, someone is coming. Someone who needs what only you can give. I do not know what that means. I just know I was supposed to tell you." Nathan read it twice. Someone is coming. He set the phone on the table. He looked at the yellow curtains. He thought about Derek. His son had sounded different last night. Or maybe Nathan had finally been listening differently. There had been something underneath Derek's voice in those last minutes of the call. Something careful. Something that had the quality of a door that wanted to open but was waiting to see if it was safe. Nathan had been so focused on his own walls that he had not considered his son might have built some too. Derek was 34 years old. He had lost his mother at 31. He had driven 3 hours to get to the hospital and arrived with 40 minutes to spare. And Nathan had watched his son hold his mother's hand and not cry. Not in the room, not at the service, not at the graveside. Nathan had thought at the time that Derek was being strong, that he had inherited the family way of holding things together. It had not occurred to him until right now, sitting at the kitchen table on a Friday morning with a second cup of coffee, that Derek might have been doing the exact same thing Nathan had been doing for 3 years, performing. Holding the shape of fine, Nathan picked up his phone. He almost called. Then he stopped. He wanted to see his son's face. He typed instead, "Derek, no pressure and do not rearrange anything. But if you wanted to come home this weekend, I would really like that. I will make the chili your mother used to make. I think I still remember how." He sent it before he could reconsider. He poured the rest of the coffee down the sink, rinsed the pot, and went to get dressed. He was pulling on his boots when the reply came. "Dad, I was already thinking about it. I will leave after work. Be there by midnight." Nathan held the phone and did not say anything because there was nothing to say that the feeling in his chest was not already saying more clearly. He put on his jacket. He went outside. The morning was cool and clear. The sky was the particular blue that only happens in early autumn in the Midwest. A blue so clean it looks freshly washed. He walked to the edge of the yard where the old oak stood and put his hand against the bark the way he sometimes did, just to feel something solid, something that had been standing longer than he had and would likely be standing long after. He stood there for a while. He thought about Margaret. He talked to her sometimes. He knew she could not answer. He was not confused about that. But there was something right about saying her name out loud in the places she had loved. Something that felt like honoring the fact that she had been here, that she had stood in this yard and hung laundry on the line that was no longer there, and called Derek in for supper from this exact patch of ground and grown tomatoes in the beds along the south fence, and been for 38 years. The person Nathan organized his whole life around. "Derek's coming home," he said to the oak tree and the blue sky, and whatever of her still lingered in the air of this yard. "I think he needs something. I think maybe we both do." He went back inside. He called the grocery store and wrote down what he needed for the chili. He cleaned the bathroom Derek always used, changed the sheets, put a spare blanket at the foot of the bed the way Margaret always had, because Derek ran cold even in summer and always had ever since he was small. He cooked. Not reheated, not opened from a can. He cooked from scratch the way he had watched Margaret do it for decades, pulling from memory things he had not known he remembered. The way she always bloomed the cumin in the pan first. The way she added the beans late. The way she said the secret was patience. That you could not rush chili, that it needed time to become what it was supposed to be. He let it simmer for 4 hours, the house filled with a smell that had not been in it for 3 years. He sat down in the living room at one point, and the smell reached him and he had to sit very still for a moment with his hands folded in his lap, because the smell of it was so entirely her that it took his breath away. But it was not the bad kind of breathless. It was the kind that comes when something beautiful is almost too much to hold. He said, quietly, to no one and to everything, "Thank you for letting me remember how." Derek arrived at 11:43. Nathan heard the car in the driveway and had the front door open before his son reached the porch steps. Derek looked tired. The kind of tired that is not about one night of lost sleep, but about a longer and more accumulated kind of carrying. He had his mother's eyes and his father's jaw, and he was carrying a duffel bag and wearing a jacket too light for the temperature the way he always had, always running slightly behind the season. They did not hug immediately. They stood for a moment, the way men sometimes do, measuring something in each other that does not have a name. Then Derek stepped forward, and Nathan put his arms around his son, and felt his son's arms come around him, and they stood there in the doorway for longer than either of them would have planned. "It smells like Mom in here," Derek said. His voice had something in it. "I made her chili." Derek pulled back and looked at him. Something moved across his face. "Come eat," Nathan said. "It is late, but eat anyway." They sat at the kitchen table. The same table, the same chairs. Derek ate 2 full bowls. Nathan watched him eat and felt something that was close to peace. Not the absence of grief, not the absence of missing, just the presence of this. His son at this table. Food made with memory and intention. The yellow curtains in the dark window catching the kitchen light. They talked for a long time after the bowls were cleared. Really talked. Derek said things he had not said before. About what it had been like to watch his father shrink over 3 years without being able to name what was happening. About feeling helpless in a way he did not know how to explain. About staying away sometimes because being in this house and seeing his father alone in it was a grief on top of a grief. And he had not known how to carry both. "I thought if I came too often I had just remind you of everything that was gone," Derek said. "I thought I was making it easier by giving you space." Nathan looked at his son. "You are not a reminder of what is gone," he said. "You are the part of her that is still here." Derek looked down at the table. Nathan let him have that moment. Then he said, "I should have told you that a long time ago. I am sorry I did not." They sat together a while longer in the quiet that follows honesty. The good quiet, the one that means something has been said that needed saying, and now the room is a different shape and both people are adjusting. Before they went to bed, Nathan said, "Tomorrow, help me do something I have been putting off." Derek looked at him. "Your mother's room," Nathan said. "Not to change it, just to spend some time in it together. I think it is time." Derek nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I think so too." They went to bed, and in the morning, after coffee, they went in together. The room was the way Margaret had left it. Nathan had changed the sheets once and dusted occasionally, but otherwise he had left it alone. Her reading glasses were still on the nightstand. A library book she had never finished was still there too. A book marked 3/4 of the way through. Her cardigan was on the chair in the corner. The blue one with the small buttons. They moved through the room slowly, quietly. Derek picked up the cardigan and held it for a moment and put it back down. Nathan straightened the books on her shelf. Small things, careful things. The kind of tending that is also a form of love. And then Derek opened the drawer of the nightstand on Margaret's side. He was looking for nothing in particular, just moving through the space. He stopped. "Dad." Something in his voice made Nathan cross the room immediately. Derek was holding a piece of paper, folded once. No envelope, just a piece of paper in Margaret's handwriting, the careful rounded letters she had always used when she was writing something she wanted to get right. Nathan took it. His hands were steady. He did not know how. He unfolded it and read it. He read it once to himself. Then he read it again because the first time his eyes moved over the words without his mind fully receiving them. The second time he let each line land. Then he read it out loud. For Derek Nathan, "I do not know when you will find this. I do not know what things will look like when you do. But I know you. And I know that somewhere in the time after I am gone, there will be a night when you sit outside and look at the stars and wonder if God is still listening. So I want to tell you what I know. He is. He always has been. He hears you when you do not have words. He hears you when you are angry. He hears you when you are so tired you cannot do anything but sit there. He is not waiting for you to feel strong before he comes close. He is already close. He was close the whole time. And Nathan, one more thing. When someone comes to you in that season, some unexpected person or some unexpected moment, let them in. Do not manage it. Do not stay behind the wall. Just let them in. That is how he works. That is how he has always worked. Through people, through small, impossible timing, through love that shows up at the door whether you opened it or not. I love you. I will always love you. And I am not as far as it feels, Margaret. The room was very quiet. Nathan lowered the paper. He looked at his son. Derek was not trying to hold it together anymore, and neither was Nathan. They stood in Margaret's room with the morning light coming through her curtains and cried the way people cry when grief and gratitude arrive at the same moment and become indistinguishable from each other. Not the crying of despair. The crying of being found. Nathan thought about the dream Cecilia had described. The voice. Tell him I remember the prayer he prayed 20 years ago. Tell him I have not forgotten. Someone is coming. He thought about the gust of wind on the porch. He thought about the star. He thought about Cecilia's text arriving at 11:14. He thought about the same minute he had spoken into the dark. And now, this, Margaret's handwriting. Margaret's voice, still in the room, still reaching him, still saying the truest things at the exact moment he needed to hear them. He had asked if God was still listening, and God had answered with a wind and a star and a woman's dream and a sun who drove through the night and a piece of paper in a nightstand drawer written by the hand of someone who had loved him well enough to prepare even. For this, the voice came one more time. Not loud, never loud, gentle, sure. The same voice it had always been. I told her, it said, before she left. I told her you would need this, and she loved you enough to write it down. This is what I do, Nathan. I prepare. I work ahead of the need. I place the answer before the question is even formed. You were never waiting for me to show up. I was waiting for you to see that I already had. Nathan folded the letter carefully. He held it against his chest for a moment. Then he placed it back in the drawer. Not to hide it, to keep it. Because some things are not meant to be taken out and displayed. Some things are meant to live in the quiet places, to be returned to when the night gets long and the silence presses in and a man needs to remember that he is known, that he is held, that there has not been a single moment, not one, when he was alone in this. He put his arm around his son's shoulders. Derek leaned into him slightly, the way he had when he was small. They stood together at the window. The backyard was gold with autumn light. The oak tree stood where it had always stood. The sky was that clean, early morning blue. It was an ordinary scene, and it was the most sacred thing Nathan had seen in 3 years. Later that afternoon, they sat on the back porch together. 2 mugs. Coffee that was still warm. The old wooden chair and the newer one Nathan had brought out from the garage, so there would be room. They did not talk about deep things. They talked about baseball and the neighbor's new dog, and whether Nathan wanted to repaint the back fence before winter. They talked about a restaurant Derek had found that did something interesting with pot roast, and whether that was an abomination or a stroke of genius. They sat in the ordinary, and the ordinary was enough. More than enough. Nathan picked up his coffee mug, took a slow sip. The sky was moving toward evening now, the blue deepening, the light going gold at the edges, the way it does in autumn when the day does not want to end. He did not look for the star. It was not dark enough yet, but he knew it was there. The way he now knew a lot of things he had spent 3 years forgetting. That he was not the kind of man God forgot about, that the silence had never been absence. That love, real love, the kind that knows you completely and stays anyway, does not disappear when the person carrying it does. It just finds another way to reach you through a gust of wind on a quiet porch. through a woman who did not know why she was dialing, through a son who drove through the night without knowing why he had to, through a folded piece of paper in a nightstand drawer, written in careful handwriting by someone who had known, even at the end, that God would find a way to reach him. He always found a way. He always would. Nathan set down his mug, looked over at his son. Derek was watching the yard, both hands wrapped around his coffee, quiet in the easy way that means a person is finally at rest. Nathan did not say anything. He did not need to. Some things do not need words. Some things just need two people sitting together in the ordinary light of an ordinary afternoon. Finally, after a very long time, neither one of them pretending to be fine, just present, just here, just held.